Everyone, I'd like to introduce Oscar Ramos, General Partner at Orbit Startups. And so we are I'm just going to hop off, and then Oscar, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stefan. Well, thank you everybody for joining the session today. We're going to be talking about Orbit startups and about what we think is probably the most exciting and underrated area of investing in climate. So some of you seem to have experience in emerging markets. You come from emerging markets, or you've lived in emerging markets, and well, probably is no secret for you that 85% of the population in the world lives in emerging markets. Then the growth of emerging markets, population in emerging markets is going up, whereas population in the developed economies is stagnant or sometimes going down. And the growth of the economy, the growth of consumption, the growth of everything in emerging market is going through the roof. Is expected that by 2030, just a few years from now, there's going to be already more middle class and more consumption coming from emerging markets. So the challenge from a climate perspective is that if this transformation, this growth that is happening in emerging markets happens exactly the same way that it happened in the developed economies, we're going to be in trouble, and that's a challenge. And that's where, as founders, as innovators, as entrepreneurs, that's where we see the opportunity. The digitalization of or transformation of all of the traditional industries that power the basic needs of humans, from food to transportation to anything that you can think about, that's an opportunity for impact in climate. And I mean, our view in terms of emerging markets and climate is that there's three things that make difference climate tech technology in emerging markets, or climate tech opportunities, compared to more developed economies. The first one is that climate tech in emerging markets is cheaper. It needs to be cheaper. It needs to be more efficient. Most of the impact that is achieved in climate in emerging markets is achieved by driving efficiency. When we are investing in companies in agriculture, we are improving the efficiency. We're making cheaper the production of every kilo of food. And at the same time, we're reducing the carbon footprint of every kilo of food that is produced. The second thing is that climate tech in emerging markets needs to work tomorrow, if not today. We don't have years to wait. The change, the growth, the demand is happening very fast. So whatever you do is not something that will have the impact years from now. It needs to have an impact today, because people need to eat today, and people need to move around today. People need to have access to better conditions for life today, and that requires, in some cases, just to make it possible, they need to have a solution today. The third one is the most interesting for me, which is most of the climate tech companies in emerging markets, they might brand themselves as climate tech for investors, but they will never ever talk to consumers positioning themselves as sustainable solutions, because most consumers in emerging markets will associate climate like sustainable solutions with higher price and with less efficiency. And because they care, first of all, about their sustainability from an economic point of view, they will reject these solutions. Okay, those are some of the learnings that we've learned. So, what do we do at Orbit? Well, we are the same as every other part of SOSV. We invest in the companies, and together with our investment, companies get access to our resources for the faster development of the companies. Then, what we've identified as the major challenge in software companies. At a high level, you could say that in SOSV we have indie bio for biotech companies, for science-based startups. We have hacks for hardware companies, for hard tech, heavy engineering type of startups. And in Orbit, we're investing in software startups, and we're investing in software startups across multiple emerging markets. And what we've identified as the major bottleneck, the major challenge for companies in that space is just getting access to customers, getting access to consumers. So when we work with companies, the major contribution that we bring to these companies is the better access to customers. We have helped them get customers free get customers faster, and do it in a more sustainable way. That's how we help majority of our companies with our initial investment achieve an either break-even point or definitely find positive unit economics that allow us to help the companies be more independent. And then as they have something more solid, something more scalable, more fundable, get access to global capital that allow them to grow faster. Okay. I think we've consumed across more or less like half of the time, and I want to make sure that I have enough time to answer questions. So what I'm gonna do is actually check. Yeah, my slides are finally done. So I'm gonna just show if I manage to do it easily. A few of my slides. Yep. So it becomes a bit more visual. So this is everything I was talking about like the growth of emerging markets, how this is different because of the different infrastructure that you have, how things are very different and many aspects. And well, these are the areas where we're investing. This is where we have portfolio. These numbers have changed because we're investing around 45 companies every year. And these are just some of the examples of companies that we've invested, no? Helping farmers deal with the risk of climate changes that create like heavy rains or droughts, helping improve the efficiency of the supply chains so we can reduce the waste. In the case of Bangladesh, we're talking about close to 50% loss of product from farmer to distributor to the wholesale market, and that obviously has a big impact in the farmers, reduce the inefficiency of the supply chains in B2B with a lot of product that is lost, and additional cost in terms of transportation, helping make sure that we monitor the management of waste and the impact that these waste and efficiency of use of materials will create in the environment, making sure that we can help also keep all the waste not only outside of the landfills, but also turn this opportunity into business for all the waste pickers that are making a living of collecting trash, helping to improve the percentage of recycling, but making sure that they can have a decent life themselves by improving their efficiency, improving the way they recycle, achieving like a 3x in their personal earning, and obviously creating more motivation for more people to use their energy to collect the trash and keep the environment cleaner. Giving electronics a second opportunity through circular economy opportunities, and all the mobile phones, all the electronics that are discarded in some part of the world, we can take them to other parts of the world, and at the same time helping all of these individuals get digitally connected, get them digitally enabled, and help them get more opportunities for earning. Bringing electric vehicle power delivery networks to the world, where we know that these networks, these EV power networks, are going to be long-term cheaper, are going to have obviously way lower carbon footprint, but at the same time they have a challenge instead in terms of the cost of the vehicles, because first, there's no second-hand market, and there's obviously limited amount of products. They're more expensive to buy, and then the maintenance would be cheaper, the operation would be cheaper, but there's an obstacle for adoption. And these are just some of the examples of companies. You can reach me through this email. You can check our website or LinkedIn and connect. And now, yes, what I'm gonna do is just go to the Q&A section and start answering some of the questions that were asked. Okay, so I'm gonna rank the questions based on popularity according to your votes. So Kaylin was asking, which emerging markets country do you see the biggest opportunity in the next 5 years? Well, there's still a debate around what, I mean, if, for example, China is or it's not an emerging market. But I think the emerging markets where today has the biggest opportunity is India. I think India is the largest of all the emerging markets. is a market where there's a huge amount of difference. The gap that you have is really big, and the size of the population, the difference across the multiple regions is pretty significant. And at the same time, India has a very strong talent pool domestically that will create solutions that will be quite relevant for the India challenge, the specific emerging economies challenge, and that can also be applicable to other parts of the world. Today, when we invest in companies in Africa, they will look at companies in India as inspiration. When we invest in companies in Latin America, they will look at India as some of this inspiration. Southeast Asia, particularly Indonesia, which is a large market, they'll see a lot of excitement. But I think really it's not so much about the specific country. You asked about the country, so I mentioned a specific country. I think it's about the whole global south, where it's difficult. In every region, you'll have always a big market that's gonna stand out. No, like you think about Africa and Nigeria as largest market, and Egypt are very relevant. In Latin America, Brazil and Mexico are top markets, and Southeast Asia, you have Indonesia as the most interesting market. Okay. Next question. Based on popularity, we have, I don't know why this doesn't. Okay, no, it gets updated. Ricardo Perez asks. Okay. He's working as a VC portfolio manager in Ecuador. What do you think are the most underlooked climate tech subverticals in Latin America? Okay. In general, I'll say that in Latin America, particularly, I'm seeing sometimes a lot of interest in climate from the investment side, but not so much offering on solutions that are specific to the challenges in Latin America. I haven't seen many solutions in that space that are addressed in a scalable manner. No, like giving you an example. No, we invest in a company in Ecuador, in Colombia, called Muta. Muta basically digitizes the whole recycling supply chain, and digitize the supply chain by making it more efficient, but also by creating a lot of transparency and traceability. Okay, and this market is a market that we expected in Latin America to be more advanced, and it's not as advanced as we expected. No? And it's a solution that creates very direct economic value, very direct social value, and obviously with a lot of sustainable impact. So I'll say this is an area where, in general, I think there's a big opportunity there. There's a lot of interest from the investor side. I don't see as much from the entrepreneur side. So I'm really looking forward to meet, thanks to the matchmaking in this event, more opportunities with startups in Latin America. Continuing with the questions based on popularity, we have Sajawal Ahmed. A lot of work and research has been done on biofuels, but still it's not seen much efficient. You think in future it can be more feasible and efficient, and we can actually use it in sectors like industry and transport? Well, I think biofuels as other technologies are an industry that will go through phases of development. No, we're today in the second generation of biofuels, and in this second generation of biofuels, we're already seeing a huge increase in efficiency of the energy that we're able to generate, in comparison with the carbon emissions that we're generating. What also makes this generation interesting is that there's new sources of materials like used cooking oil, for example, that we are avoiding to basically damp on rivers and lakes, and that we're actually managing to produce a level of energy. And there's new generations of there's a new generation coming of biofuels that are gonna work. I'm gonna continue building on this idea where there's gonna be as raw materials for the biofuels. We're going to be using waste, and we're going to be using like materials that otherwise would not have been used for anything. No? And that's, I think, very, very exciting space. We have Kenneth. Hello, will you assist in finding customers outside of the startup headquarters? Yes, actually, my T-shirt here says cross borders, and this is one of the key things that we do with many of our companies. There's many of the companies that by design, unless you are in one of the really large markets, many of the companies by design, they need to expand internationally to be able to become large enough. And there is also an opportunity in expanding internationally for some of these companies. So both in the case of consumer and the case of enterprise and B2B companies, we do work with our companies to help them get access to more customers. The first system that we use is cross promotion among our own portfolio companies. So and this is something that we keep assisting our companies in the whole history of the companies. No, like last week we announced that one of our portfolio companies from Vietnam, a company called Elsa, raised their CSC. And at the same time, we keep working with Elsa on helping them to expand to new markets. And as they expand to new markets, they work together with our companies, with our existing portfolio companies in those markets, creating a win-win value opportunity for all the companies. And as this is a model that has been proven to be very, very valuable and very relevant, we have new partners that have joined that network of collaboration. Cool.
Hi, Oscar. Just stepping in here. I think we're at time. Would be great to thank you so much for the session. Maybe we can answer one more question. I think we've gone over by a few minutes, but I reckon we can do one more question if you want to wrap up. It's been an awesome.
Sure.
Listen.
Okay, so I have a question from an anonymous source that has that's the next one with the most votes, which is what climate tech sectors have the possibility of exporting from emerging markets to developed nations? I actually love this question. I really like this question because for us, I mean, climate or climate specific startups are one of the areas that we're investing, but we're investing in basically, in general, you could summarize as the digitization of any traditional industry. And that digitalization in emerging markets will have requirements that are functional that potentially could be the same across any industry, across any geography. At the end of the day, if you have a requirement functional, you have to meet that functional requirement. And at the same time, you have constraints in terms of efficiency and cost, and the possibility to operate with very minimal resources that are very, very strict. So I do believe that emerging markets are going to be the source of global innovation. Then we have seen already companies in some of our portfolio in other areas, not specifically in climate, that already have achieved that jump, and that's something that surprises a lot of people. No, when I was working 20 years ago in my thesis, that was actually the core technology concept of my thesis. So in climate, we haven't seen anything in that space, and I think where we're going to see a lot of opportunities from emerging markets to basically expand to developed nations are the ones more connected with the supply chains, the ones that are connected with the impact of manufacturing, the impact of logistics and transportation, where there's a lot of need for improvement, and these will eventually become very relevant in emerging market, in more developed economies. So here with that, I want to thank everybody that joined the session. As I mentioned earlier, orbitstartups.com, find me in LinkedIn, find us in Twitter, etc. And feel free to connect and let us know if there's anything we can do to work together.
Oscar, actually, I'm so sorry. I messed up with another notification. We actually have another 4 minutes if you want to do a few questions. Very sorry for breaking your flow.
Oh, okay. It's good, that's good news. If you were to say no, you need to jump fast. Sure, let's see if there's any more of the questions here that okay. So Kenneth here was asking, do you help registering patents in emerging markets? You can. Sometimes registering these patents in the emerging market might not be the best place to do it. But I have to say that I've seen some technologies, especially in the energy space, that I think that's super interesting, where there's an element of some product, some patents that you can register. But I would say it's not the best way to protect your startup. Your startup eventually will be stronger, more protected through execution, because whatever you do, there's always going to be a way to do it like faster and cheaper. So I'll say that we can. It's something possible. I think it makes sense to think why you want to do it, and what are your expectations, but not in my opinion, not the best, not the same use that you will have in other parts of the world or with other cases. Let me see more questions. I see. I have also Jeff Kremer is asking here. I have an ecologically sound carbon capture concept in the ideation stage. What do you suggest is the best? Which is the best way to get financing for it? Well, anything that is in the ideation stage, I think is very difficult to get funding for it if you go through VCs and angels. So there's some incubators, there's some specific programs that can work on churning these ideas into initial MVPs. I don't know anything about your idea. I don't know if it's more like a science based or is a concept that can be easily implementable. But I'll say that it will be challenging to get this from VCs and angels, and also just try to find specific organizations that can support companies in that space. Okay. So we have here Morteza Keshavari talking about you work in China. Can you explain more about patent, copyright, and investment and foreign startup in China, especially in climate tech? Well, we don't have a lot of time because apparently we have like 1 more minute before we finish. But I would say that China regulations in terms of climate are very advanced, and the whole industry here is very advanced. It's more advanced than that you can see. Surprisingly, for a lot of people, is more advanced than it is in more developed economies. There is a huge challenge in China in terms of the size of the population, and the poverty reduction and the improvement that China has achieved for people in the last 20 years. I've been 16 years living here, and I've seen huge improvement. A lot of my colleagues, when they were growing up, they didn't have access to 3 meals a day, and today they all have access to 3 meals a day. No, and that's something that involves huge production of food. People get electricity and water, etc. All of that puts a lot of pressure in terms of energy consumption. So to be able to make that possible, climate is something that needs to be addressed. At the same time, the development of the manufacturing industry in China had very serious side effects in pollution, and that's something that has been addressed. No, the reduction of pollution that I've experienced here in the last 2 decades, that close to the decades that I've lived here, have been really powerful. And to make sure that there's motivation to develop these solutions, there's been a very serious copyright and trademark and IP protection market in China, to make sure that inventors, the creators, the scientists have a way to monetize their creations. Okay, and I think with that we are up in terms of time. I want to thank everybody for joining the session today, and wishing you an amazing experience with the Climate Tech Summit. I'm not sure if there's gonna be someone coming to wrap up the session, or what's the next step. I'm happy to hang out here in case people wants to chat, but I don't know if the room needs to be used for something else, and definitely don't want to create any conflict for anybody.
Oscar, thank you so much for an awesome session. Apologies to you and everyone for prematurely trying to end it. I'm very happy we had extra 5 minutes because there was just some brilliant questions and some fantastic answers. We're going to wrap up here. Thank you again to Oscar and to anyone who joined and asked some fantastic questions. Please enjoy the rest of the summit.